when the Baker Center looked at elected chiefs instead of appointed, that we only had 2 more commissioners than the norm. Also, if you look around locally, I've called around Oak Ridge, Blount County, Sevierville, they all have 25. Now, you know, I don't really want our government to look like Oregon. I'm interested in our government looking and feeling like Tennessee, and that's my concern.
Kathy Hamilton, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking there was, this is one of the issues that one of my neighbors took me to task on when I was going around collecting signatures, and I initially thought that he said, well, I want to talk to you about the change in commission size, and I thought immediately that he's going to be opposed to this, and the next thing he said was, why did you make it the size that you did? Why are you leaving 11? Why didn't you cut it down smaller? And I said, well, sir, have you heard any of the conversations? You know, do you understand the comments in this community about this change? And he said, well, maybe I feel a little bit differently because I've lived in a community where it is different. He said, I lived in North Carolina for a long time. He said, I've done business and lived in both the counties that Raleigh and that Charlotte are in, and those are large communities. And he said, they have 7 commissioners there on county commission, and it works very well. It's a very efficient form of government, and I don't understand why people here are unwilling to step back and consider this. So I think there are feelings both ways in the community, and you know, it's just an issue that we want the public to get educated about and let them see what their choice is.
How do you answer the criticism on this side about the representation issue and the ability to get your message out to commissioners that identify with your needs?
Well, again, right now, there are 17 commissioners that don't care about your issue in your district, as it relates to you ever having a voice in their being there. You've got to convince those commissioners to be interested in your district when you've not voted for them at all. If you have an 11-member commission, again, the example is City Council, 6 district representatives, 3 at large. Those at-large representatives have campaigned in your district. They're interested in your district. You voted for them. That's how they get to be at-large representation. So you have the ability to go talk to the district rep and to the at-large rep. You've already got those folks on your side. You only have to convince 3 more to be interested in your issue to get a majority.
In serving on commission, you care about every person that comes up there. You're representing Knox County. What I'm talking about is that you live in that neighborhood and you understand those issues. I'm not saying that just because you come out of a certain district, you're going to completely ignore the rest of Knox County. That's not doing your job. I was appointed, sir. I was not elected, and I cared about every single person that came up there. The decisions that I made, yes, I looked at Knox County as a whole, but at the same time, those folks that came from my district, they looked to me to be their champion because they knew that I understood what was going on in their neighborhood, that we go to their neighborhood association meetings. Somebody that's running countywide can't go to every PTA meeting, can't go to every school in Knox County unless they're a full-time politician, not a community leader.
It's a really big county.
I want to stop you 1 second. John Owings had a quick point for us.
Whatever size the commission is, I mean, what we have talked about for months and what we've worried about and what Commissioner Davis brought up is Section 2, actually, of the Voting Rights Act of 1964. And that's whether you reduce the minority representation on Knox County Commission. And if you do that, it certainly makes your amendment suspect, certainly, to a violation of the Act. And that was always our concern.
That's a huge concern.
And we researched that extensively, and there is not a violation. Again, the reason there's not is because the reduction is to 1 per district with 2 at large. So each district is voting for more people than they were before, not less. And so
I challenge that because I called the Department of Justice, and they're on notice about this. I talked to them.
Ma'am, I used to work at the Department of Justice.
And I understand that. This is why I'm very shocked that you would actually recommend people violating federal law.
It is not a violation of federal law.
When you take the math, 2 into 19, and then 1 into 11, because that's effectively what will occur, do the math. You will reduce minority representation on commission unless you guys buy somebody and that you promote and try to put forward as a political candidate just so that you'll satisfy that requirement.
Again, that's been extensively researched, and there's not a legal issue.
Then why didn't you bring that up in commission meetings when we asked you that? We asked you that numerous times.
We answered the question exactly the same way.
You said no, sir. You said no, sir, every time.
We're going to have to leave it at that because we do have to move on now to the Second Amendment, or the Fourth Amendment in this case.
And we want to bring in John Owings to lead us off, too, in this one. Just in the way this was worded, we want to get your take on this as well. One of the questions that many of you who've been watching the news, reading the newspaper, have heard about the wording of these questions. We'll get to those stills in just a second, but I want to make sure we have Mr. Owings weighing in on the way Bill Lockett, who's the law director now, worded this. There have been some questions about his motivations for that, and what's your take on that, John, the way he worded these amendments? I'm just reading. The portion in particular is, shall we take away from the people the ability to vote for the county law director by changing this elected office? That's really the crux of people's frustration. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I understand that. And as the law director, and I've written amendments, I've written ballot questions before, and what the law provides is, I mean, it's a statutory duty of the law director in this circumstance to write the ballot question. You're supposed to write it using everyday English and you know, common meaning applied to the words, and so that folks can understand it. I don't know that that means that you have the right to editorialize the ballot question. So ultimately, there'll have to be someone to weigh in, I take it, on whether that occurred in this instance. And you know, other than that, I wouldn't have a lot of comment.
Do you think it was an ethical violation or no?
You know, I don't know what was in the law director's mind when he wrote the question. We would certainly have to ask him. But like I say, it's his statutory duty to write the question. You're supposed to phrase it in a way that outlines the question using common everyday meaning with the English language. Does that mean that you editorialize? And that's the question that will be open that will have to be answered by a court, most likely.
Well, we'll continue that discussion, but let's show them what the white question looks like.
That's right. This is the question number 4 on the ballot. It would have 5 things, deal with 5 things, all dealing with the power of the executive branch. First, it would change the offices of county trustee, clerk, and register of deeds from elected positions to administrative offices appointed by the mayor with commission approval. It would also make the county law director a position appointed by the mayor.
Third, it would give the mayor the power to create or eliminate major departments and to appoint department heads. It would also eliminate the office of county auditor and put in its place an inspector general to be appointed by county commission. And
finally, it would adopt a conflict of interest policy for elected or appointed officials that would keep them from participating in any decision-making on that matter.
So let's discuss the white petition, and you're welcome to weigh in on the wording as well. Yes.
First thing, there's a part at the end of that where it talks about the elimination of the offices, and it makes it incumbent upon the voter to infer that their right to vote would be lost. And I think the law director did exactly the right thing, because the most salient point was that people would lose their right to vote. And new residents and people that are newly registered, whether they haven't voted in a long time or just become of age, they might not know that. And the law director had an obligation by statute to inform those people. I applaud him. I think he did exactly the right thing.
And obviously, you all may take issue with that.
Well, you know, I think the critical thing here is that I believe that the voters have the right to make an informed choice here. I've had a lot of people that have asked me about this particular item because I think it's probably the more controversial item on the white petition. And when they ask me, why would I want to choose not to vote for these offices? I've asked them in turn, let me ask you this. Do you know that those 3 offices go and request money through filing a salary suit with the court, that money never is a part of the county budget, that money last year for 2007 was almost $10 million, up over $1 million from the year before, a 12% increase in what they spent the year before? Do you know that the only way that you can find out what those offices spent off the budget is to get the county's financial report, a 300 and some odd page document after the money's been spent, and go to page 102 and find what they spent. Do you know